They want it on their terms, though. This is the
Yeah.
thing. Let's not conflate wanting to be in the office with wanting to be in an office that's not inclusive, or not wanting to still have the option to work from home,
Yeah.
when there's a train strike, or I don't know, they have period pains or like whatever. This is the thing about Gen Z. Like, people are going to try and now spin this into a reason why we all need to be back in the office.
Yo everyone, welcome back. Brand new Techish. It is me, Michael Behane. I am the CEO of Pocket and Pocket Jobs, and I am joined with
Abadesi, the CEO of Hustle Crew, and also the playwright of the First Woke War, because I'm a playwright now. Yeah, multiple hats.
Dope. So for this episode, I've been curious about certain behaviors that I'm seeing from Gen Z. So I saw an article that said that, does Gen Z crave IRL work interactions, basically? And I don't know if this is some sort of psyop by like our corporate overlords trying to get everyone back into the offices. What I will say is that I have had Gen Z employees tell me that they wanted to come in a bit more, and that I've had one person who was a great talent that I worked with actually leave to go to join a job where they said to them, you can work, 4 or 5 days in the office and be around other kind of young folks. Whereas my company is predominantly late 20s, early 30s people who probably are just like, listen, we've done the in-office thing. We just want to work from home, get our work done and get about our lives. This person was probably in the early 20s, 22, 23, fresh from university, didn't know anybody in the city. So is that something that makes sense to you? Or do you think this is just another tactic from our corporate overlords to get us back into the office?
You know what? This is so interesting. I mean, the fact that you actually have someone on your team that left and said, I want to be in a team, I think is so telling. And I do think it's the decades, gosh, I'm really aging myself. It's the decade after university where you do form a lot of important relationships in terms of romantic relationships, friendships, people you spend the weekend with. So I can see how, if you are, only a few years out of uni, especially if you're in a new city, like you said, and you're spending most of your time at home, and home is maybe like a flat share or even like your parents' place, like where would you make friends? Especially in London. Like, I'm sorry, how do people make friends in London? Like, 90% of the people I spent.
You're my only friend, Abadesi. You're my only friend.
I was about to say, I was like, I didn't even make the cut, y'all.
You're my only friend. Go on.
You're lying. But what I was going to say is, you, like me, most of your friends are from school or university. Like, literally, I'm still hanging out with the people I was in like GCSE maths with, So I just think it's really interesting and potentially plausible. Yeah, I could kind of see that. I could kind of see how people are like, do you know what? They want it on their terms, though. This is the thing. Let's not conflate wanting to be in the office with wanting to be in an office that's not inclusive, or not wanting to still have the option to work from home, when there's a train strike, or I don't know, they have period pains or like whatever. This is the thing about Gen Z. Like, people are going to try and now spin this into a reason why we all need to be back in the office. Like, if you're not creating an office environment that is inclusive, that has inclusive types of social events, not just the pub or whatever, then you're kind of missing the mark. But I could see how people want to be like around each other. Also, like, I think often you're just more productive. Like, how do you build rapport with someone if the only time you see them is on the screen? You need to know about them and bond with them.
Yeah, and I think so to contradict everything we just said there's another article I found which basically says only 1 in 10 Gen Zers want to work in the office full time. I think there is definitely full time is the key word there. I think there's definitely the want for flexibility to come in every now and then, and hybrid basically is what I think, to be honest, a lot of people like hybrid. I'm not hybrid like thing, but some people
that's because you're an old man.
Because I'm old.
You got your house, you got your beanbag, you're like, let me rest.
I'm good. Yeah. So, but it was interesting because even, without putting that person's business out there too much, it wasn't even a financial thing. I offered more money and everything, and they were still like, no, I want to kind of get to know people in IRL, which is crazy. But I think
it's not you, it's me.
It's not you, it's me. The other thing is there's a cohort of people in the UK, especially, who went to university during lockdown as well, never had the full university experience. Then maybe are coming in to jobs where basically they are now having to work from home. And it's like, there's no time for you to build community. There's no time for that. So yeah, shout out to Gen Z.
You need to like join a running club, join Good Gym, join Strangers in the City, like climbing, art classes, do something.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about is a game changer that I think is not been that discussed on our show, but I've been using this tool called Replit. Now, Replit is software that enables you to build apps via natural language. I want to build a to-do list. I want to build an app for, social network, etc., and it is pretty good. And I've used it.
What, like a JavaScript web app or what? What are we talking?
It's a website called Replit. You can just go on there, and replit.com and go in there,
And it
give it
launches the app
instructions.
for you. It like
It
puts
can
it
do,
out.
yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
You can test it on the platform and then hit deploy. And then from there you can utilize it. So I've been using that tool to build stuff for my business. So I haven't used it to build any
Very nice.
standalone apps for, separately to monetize, but like stuff that, I've been meaning to build, but I've never had the time. There's one tool that I built, which is like a resume parser, which basically one of the things when you run a job board is that people sign up, they create a profile, and they're not bothered to input their work history because they're like, I've done it before on LinkedIn, I've done it before for every job application. Here's my resume, whatever. So what I built with this Replit tool is a resume parser, which basically just reads your resume and pre-populates your profile for you, which has had material impacts on our signups, as you can imagine, because people cannot be bothered to do that kind of manual grunt work without knowing, is this platform going to give me any value? So that's a small example. Other example is,
yeah,
gone.
I was just gonna say, like, in terms of like the practicalities of it, you designed it on Replit, and then what? Replit gave you like a snippet of code to embed onto your page. Like, how easy are we talking here?
So for that situation, that obviously has to be integrated into my app. So as a developer, I can integrate it. But for
Right,
example, if I wanted to build, a web app, let's say for example with Hustle Crew, you wanted to build a web app where you can have a social network component to Hustle Crew. You can just go to Replit,
like a forum.
like a forum, yeah, and it can build it for you and deploy it for you.
That's
straight
cool.
up, like, so it's a game changer. I feel like the bottom 20-30% of developers should probably be spooked, because actually that's going to take away a lot of their work. There still is time where the top level developers still need to kind of fix the code, improve the code, iron out any kinks, whatever, understand what the kinks are. But it's a game changer. If you're an entrepreneur with ideas, you're always looking for a technical co-founder. Now there's no more excuse of, I'm looking for a technical co-founder. You can build a minimal viable
MVP
product, first version, without any developer, without even spending more than, like, I think it's like a SaaS product. It's like $30 a month. It's cheap.
That's not bad.
It's cheap. Honestly, I think I paid $180 for the year just to get the annual discount. But I'm definitely like,
you've
now
already got that back.
Building, yeah, exactly. I'm definitely now building all kinds of tools to, iron out the kinks of my business and just to improve productivity. Things that there was never time to build before, and it wouldn't make sense to allocate time to now. It's like, all right, cool. Let's build a tool that, takes our Google Analytics data, our MailChimp data, our social data, and put it all into a spreadsheet so I can view it in the morning, every morning. That's possible now without having to get an intern to go and manually input that and stuff like that. So yeah, the future is wild. So yeah, that's
is it using an AI agent? Like how does it work basically?
It's an AI agent. Essentially, it's like a ChatGPT, but essentially it's fully focused on building code, and it can deploy code. So the difference between ChatGPT is you'll give it instructions, and ChatGPT can write the code and whatever, but ChatGPT is not going to build you a fully formed app. It's going to tell you, here are the pages, copy the page here, then do this. Whereas this will actually give you a folder with like all a workable app, basically, which you can then just hit deploy, and then it will be live on a web link.
Wow.
And if you've messed around with like learning to code or write code, half the battle is basically deploying stuff. Half the battle is basically getting it to work on your local machine, then deploying it. And is that gonna work as it works locally? Probably not. So this is like, this is a game changer. This is revolutionary. If I could buy like 10% of this company, I would. I'm sure they're probably worth like $1 bajillion now. Too late. So yeah, that's a little tactic.
Good plug
for my little hustlers out there. The other thing I saw, and we both noticed this, is there's now a new app called Book Protectors. So our person that we mentioned a lot, Nikita Bay, just because of his sheer chutzpah and hustle, he says, over the last few months, I've been advising Book Protectors, a new app for ordering an on-demand security detail, or simply put, Uber with guns. Today, they're debuting in LA and New York, and they are number 3 in the App Store. So if you have a hot date this weekend, pick her up with armed security. How do you feel about basically having an on-demand security guard?
If a guy shows up to the pub where we're having our first date or whatever with some bodyguard, I'll be like, bruh, what is this? Like, I would be out of there. Quick snap, because I'd be like, am I under threat? Am I in danger? Like, obviously you're gonna think that. You're like, wait, who's targeting you? Who's coming for you?
But there obviously is a context where you might need this. I don't know about, like, if you're going to some event where if I'm in America and I'm going to an event. Now listen, I've been to places in America, I'm like, I wish I had a bodyguard on me right now. I remember being in a club in Houston.
That's what the gun's for, man.
No, I was in a club in Houston, and I was like, I need some bodyguards right now, because I'm seeing goons and they're screw facing me for no apparent reason, and I don't feel safe right now. It's time to leave. Yeah, basically. They didn't like what I said. I was like, it's time to go. Like, so yeah, I feel like
the irony that in a patriarchal society where women disproportionately face most of the violence at the hands of men be out here going, I'm scared. I'm gonna get a bodyguard. What the hell?
Listen,
Like, if
we're all
anything, this
scared of the
company should
alphas.
be giving free bodyguards to women that have to walk home at night. Companies should be buying these bodyguards for women getting back from the Christmas party or whatever. Do you know what? Put a bodyguard between me and the handsy guy on the sales team. That's what I want. Like,
So how would you feel? How would you feel, yeah, if like you were somewhere in America and your husband's in the UK and you're like,
yeah,
oh, it's a bit sketchy tonight. Like I'm heading back home. It's late now in the New York Underground or whatever. Like it's feeling a bit dodgy right now. And he's
yeah.
like, yeah, don't worry, I'm gonna book you a protector to get you home. You don't feel that would be appropriate
I
or romantic?
I just feel like it's gonna get me more attention. It
Mm,
depends how they dress though, because if Bruh's coming in with like all black, like the earpiece, like I'll be like,
it's
oh, I don't
legit.
know. I want him to like come in like a hoodie and jeans, so it just looks like I'm walking with a very large friend, so no one's gonna
Yeah, I
come
think
for me.
you can tell them how to dress. So if you're
Okay,
going to
cool.
like a soiree, like a Oscar
Yeah.
party, they can dress in a suit. But yeah, potentially you can get them to dress in casual outfit to blend in.
Do you know
So
what I mean? Like, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, how much are we talking here?
you can book them for like $100 an hour.
Does this feel like they're piggybacking off the United Healthcare murder?
I think so. I think
Do you feel
generally
like they're kind of
speaking,
timing this a little bit to be like, hey, tech CEOs or whatever, Ticketmaster CEO?
do you know what? Like when you go to like Brazil, when you go to many parts of Africa, I've been to Kenya. I haven't been to South Africa, but I've heard
Don't
it.
do
Like,
this bad PR stuff. I don't like
no,
this.
what I'm trying
I
to
don't
say
like
to
where
you
you're
is,
going with this.
okay, well, can I land the plane, please? Which is
Go.
quite an appropriate analogy in this current world where planes seem to be falling out the sky. So there are many countries where there's such wealth inequality that the rich people in those countries have gated homes, security,
Mm-hmm.
drivers. You can't get near them, basically, right? And I feel like parts of the West, America especially, is now leaning more towards that, where the rich now feel like because of the mass wealth inequality, the mass way that people have been screwed over, they need padded up security. And it's now getting to a level where even if you yourself are not Mark Zuckerberg, if your net worth is 5 million, 6
Yeah.
million, if you are somebody who's a famous influencer now, who probably would have walked around carefree before, you might be thinking to yourself, yo, I need some armed security because right now it's feeling a bit Armageddon-y and I don't know if the police can get there in time to protect me. Now, I'm not saying these are things that I think are good. I think this is indicative of a society going awry. This is not right.
100%.
Do you know what I'm saying? As in, there's a quote about like, you know, a sign of a healthy society is when like the millionaire can catch the train and not feel away about it. Basically, you know what I mean. So you could have like, I've seen Paul McCartney take the subway. I mean, not subway, the underground, the London Underground, right? But when things are going, when people are hungry, when people's tummies are rumbling, when people feel like they've been screwed over, you know, you get Luigi's and you get people who are just like, do you know what? Like, why should you have a
Got
good time?
nothing to lose.
I'm not having a good time. And this is where I think this app is basically plugging that gap. Any thoughts based on what I've said?
I mean, I posted this photo to my Instagram like not long ago because I was walking through Soho and I was like, I think I was on Berners Street, so you know, near Oxford Circus, and I saw this Porsche parked on the street, and then I saw this like tent next to the Porsche.
Damn.
And I was just like, that is just capitalism in like one snapshot.
Yeah.
And you're 100% right that, you know, in countries with great wealth inequality, the people with the haves are afraid of the have-nots. But I think what's so frustrating about it is that this is a systemic issue which can be resolved through systems change. It's like prevention is better than cure, right? Like instead of actually like going to the source of the wound, you're just sanitizing it and sticking a plaster on it. You should instead be thinking, you know, let's look at the tax system. Let's look at the welfare system. Let's look at,
Healthcare.
you know, healthcare. Let's look at why are people on the streets? Why are people suffering? Who is being squeezed out, left vulnerable and unsupported? And what can I do to help them? Because it's not going to go away. Right? Like the issues that are creating this frustration, this desperation, this vulnerability, if anything, it's getting exacerbated. Like we were literally just talking about AI with Replit, and we need to look at who is in charge of AI right now. It's people who are already rich and they're gonna get richer. And then you have to look at, we already have a digital skills gap. Now we have an AI skills gap. Like we're gonna see a widening gap between the rich and the poor. And what, they're gonna go run away to their bunkers or their glass houses or hire their like on-demand help. And you're right, like it's not just the people at the very, very top. The middle class is getting bigger, the upper middle class is getting bigger, but we need to be looking at like systemic solutions, not just ways to protect our own, because we're all the same. And most people are like one economic downturn away from ending up homeless anyway. So, you know, if you think of ways to help vulnerable people, you're potentially also just helping a future version of yourself that might exist one day. Like you're not immune to suffering or change or
so
misfortune.
putting on your investor hat, I want to know, are you somebody, if you're presented with an app or, a product like this, where you think philosophically, I don't agree with what this says about the world, but I
Yeah.
do believe that economically this will be a successful company. Are you somebody that would invest in a company where you're like, I don't like what this says about humanity, even though I think it would work?
Do you mean as like an individual investor, like what I put in
Yeah,
my
you.
stocks and shares ISA, or like as
No, I
like
mean
writing checks as an angel? Because when I
writing
write
checks as an
checks,
angel,
when I write
investor.
checks, which is like a way bigger sum of money, like 5,000, 10,000, or whatever it might be, I will only write a check for a company that's building the future I want to live in, right? Because there's always going to be someone out there ready to write a check for something that's like an easy sell. But if it's not changing the world, and I'm speaking as a woman of Nigerian, Filipino roots, in a mostly white male dominated world, like this world ain't that great for people like
Right.
me. There are a lot of things I want to see looking different for me and the communities that I represent. So if I'm writing you a check, you better be building the future I want to live in, not just, adding to what's already messed up. Like I want to see people challenging the status quo, not going, oh, if you can't beat them, join them. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm not giving you money, but maybe I'll buy a share because I'm not dumb. So I'm not dumb, okay?
After all that, you just completely did a 180, because
No,
buying a
no,
share is
no. That's
investing.
different because
You mean if it's a
I
public
was.
company?
I'm just trying to be transparent. I'm just trying to be transparent. I was looking at my portfolio the other day, and I was just like, "Damn, I didn't even know I invested in that company." And I was like, "I must have read something at some point." And I was like, "I don't know. Fine. I guess I'm also still complicit in the problems I'm denouncing." But I think when it comes to like your portfolio, your retirement planning, and stuff like that, you should be allowed a little leeway. I'm not
So
saying I'm
basically,
buying Palantir and like investing in arms and stuff like that, but I'm just saying there are some companies whose products I want to buy, but I might have a share in them.
interesting. I mean, it's difficult if you're somebody who invests in index funds. You probably are allocated into
Exactly.
industries and companies that
That's
you
what I'm
wouldn't
saying. I'm not
morally
gonna
agree with,
lie.
like oil companies and stuff like
And
that,
I'm
if they
not gonna
make
lie
up a part
about
of the
that
index.
because I think women should invest more and like plan for their retirement. So, I'm just being
I need to
honest.
research it, but I'm sure there are index fund equivalents that are basically the same sans industries that you don't want to invest in potentially.
This is a dangerous rabbit hole to go down because if you start talking about like divesting from fossil fuels and stuff, but then actually look at who's investing the most in green energy and renewables, it's often fossil fuel companies.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense from their perspective to do that. So, as a startup investor, though, you tend to lead more with morality in terms of like what you
Yeah,
want to
I'm
see in the
curious to
world
hear
and what
your
kind of
thoughts
please.
on this. Like when I was fundraising, because I don't know if you ever even like went out to like pitch to investors when
No,
okay, yeah. So I remember when, I was like feeling myself about Hustle Crew being like an AI powered career coaching platform back in
you
the
was early,
day.
bruv. You was too early. I don't know what AI you was using.
2016.
What was the AI? What was the
It was
AI?
me. It was me.
So hold on,
It was
let
me.
me clarify. There was no AI component, but you were just saying
No,
AI
that
basically.
was in the pitch deck. What
Okay.
we were going to use like natural language processing to generate content based on like questions asked in the forums.
Okay.
So we were going to like analyze what people were talking about and then like find relevant articles from the internet or write them or get career coaches to write about them or do forums about them. So that was the only AI because all we had then was
Right.
NLP. Come on, we didn't have much. Anyway, I always felt really disheartened when I went to their offices or like met them for coffee or whatever. And, I could barely even get 2 or 3 sentences in and then be like, no, I'm not interested, blah, blah. And I just found it like so demoralizing. And like, the first thing you start with is the problem that's keeping you up at night. And I'd be like, oh, like women, we struggle with this, we struggle with that. We're not heard, we're not listened. They're like, I'm going to stop you right there. I was like, okay. So for me now, I want to give people the chance who I believe should be given a chance and may not otherwise be given that chance. But yeah, what about you?
In terms of the angel investing, this venture scout thing has been very interesting because obviously it's led with the concept of have to back, black founders. But that covers a wide gamut. Obviously, black people are not a monolith. There's so many different ideas that people are working on. There's some people who are working on ideas that are, centered on uplifting the community. There's some people who are just working on a startup that, has none of that component. And I would probably say that so far, 50% of what I've done has been that probably wouldn't have been created if it wasn't a black founder.
Wow.
There's one, obviously, Tressley I've mentioned, which is like software for black hairstylists. Dermy is one where, although it's not necessarily pertaining to, the founder being black, it is, I can imagine that the origin of it would start from, black skin is not represented in the kind of data sets. And then from there, it became a more generalized product, whatever. But in terms of the root pain point that might have inspired the founder, I think that was part of it. And then now I've got 2 more investments that I'm closing up. One is a kind of music related startup.
Okay.
started by a guy who was in the music industry for many years and wasn't able to kind of find his way financially, but is now building tools to help musicians. I might show it to you and your spouse, because actually that might be related. I know he's in the music game.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one more that I'm looking at, basically, and that would wrap up my complete allocation. Now, if you said to me, like, after this, investing my own money, would I invest in this book protector app? I probably would. I'm not somebody who's like
stone cold capitalist, baby.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be like, this is going to exist. It's not inherently evil. Like, it's not like this is like, yo, we're killing people. It's just like, we are now democratizing security guards because the world is getting more dangerous. Like, that is what it is.
You are
I know the tech lingo. Democratization.
You are
democratization.
Who are you? Who are you? I thought I knew you, man.
Democratizing. That's when something fuckery's gonna happen in tech.
That's the first red flag. That's the first
red flag. Yeah, for real. But it is, though. In this situation, all they're doing is just making it more easy to book a private security guard. Like, I don't necessarily think that's evil. It just means that the world is getting more dangerous and we should fix the world. But that's not everyone's job. Someone has to go in temporarily and make it safer for others.
But here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. Like, if I was like an alien, right, and I just landed on planet, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of things I'd be directing my attention to. And someone was like, hey, alien, here is like a company that's raising hundreds of millions of dollars to provide private armies, private securities to people. Why are they providing private armies? Oh, well, because really rich people are scared that really poor, hungry people will hurt them. And they're like, oh, well, why don't they just spend the hundreds of millions feeding the hungry people and housing the poor people? Do you know what I mean? That's the thing where I'm just like, make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Listen, man, I want my security guard. That's all I'm saying. And I ain't trying to walk around with the huddled masses, man. Screw you lot, man. Don't come near me. No, I'm joking. Now, I completely agree with you. I'm democratizing access, all right? I'm democratizing access to everything.
But also, this is the thing, like the Trappings of Wealth, literally the Trappings of Wealth. I'm reading Crime and Punishment right now, and that book is hilarious, by the way. That book is hilarious because, I wasn't reading books written by men. I took a break from reading books written by men in 2019, 2018 even. Never regretted that decision. But then I was like, do you know what? It's been a few years now. Let me allow men back into my reading list. And I thought, who better to break, my abstinence than Dostoevsky? And it's just interesting because this idea of like how we show our wealth and how we dress and how we look. And I was just like, why would you even, like, when I see people out and about with like a Rolex or whatever, I'm like, you're literally like wearing someone's house value on your wrist.
No,
why?
That's something I agree with.
Why would you do that?
I don't get it.
And when I go to Lagos, I mean, again, we have street crime in Nigeria, right? Just like we have street crime in London. We have kidnappings in the Philippines. You're right. Just like, I don't know, there's crime in lots of places. But then when you see someone driving like a gold car or something, and you're like, wait, what? Why?
Yeah, I know.
Like that to me is just silly. And like, whenever I travel anywhere, I was always raised to just be discreet. Like, just be safe about it. Be chill. I've been to those countries you name. I've been to Brazil. I've been to whatever. I've been to the favelas. And it's just like, I'm going to just show up looking inconspicuous.
Yeah, I mean, I understand completely. I'm with you. Because it's like, forget even the safety component. Why rub it in people's faces? If people are struggling, if people have, surviving on a low dollar amount a day, and you're just there trying to show them, like, I'm saying, like, 5 times their wealth on your wrist, like, I don't understand it. Unfortunately, we just live in a very status-orientated world, and and men especially, there's a lot of pressure on men to demonstrate wealth and status because there's this idea that you're not going to be able to.
From who, though? I mean, I guess a certain type of person, but I'm not interested in that.
This is what I'm saying. Some people wouldn't do it if there wasn't a caliber person that doesn't respond to it. Let's not act like people don't respond to flashiness. They do, right? And that's the incentive. Even from being young in school, you get cussed out if you're wearing fake designer. But why are we so obligated to these European French brands who don't give a damn about what I'm saying, people like us? But at the same time, we want to align ourselves with things that we perceive to be better than us, and we believe that that's going to attract good things into our life, whether that's relationships, whether that's whatever. So it's depressing. It's depressing. Everyone send me your Rolexes. I'll look after them. All right. I'll just put them away somewhere. Don't do this yourself.
It's just that thing again, where it's just like, oh, capitalism 1, like humanity 0. Like, come on, guys.
So I was going to pitch you after the call, actually, my platform to democratize nuclear weapons. It's an app. It's an app. Yeah. Give me my nuke. I want my
Everyone
nuke.
needs access to hand grenades.
The Second
and
Amendment.
Nukes.
Everyone needs access to nukes, all right?
Democratize
Oh, my
access. The
days.
dirty, dirty word. Like the dirty. You know, this is the thing. Like everything that was once good will become tarnished. And that's the other thing that I'm now getting old enough to realize. It's just like things can start with the most innocent of intentions. Someone will find a way to tarnish it. You know, democratize access to affordable healthcare. Yay! Democratize access to private security.
I mean,
because it's not even democratized. You know, it's expensive.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree.
Like, it's like $5. Like,
Yeah.
sign up now for your free trial. Like, that's gonna be pricey.
On that depressing note, we'll leave you to it, everyone. Thank you for listening to this week's Techish.
Notes.
I mean, I can't help it, man. We're democratizing access to depressing notes. At Techish Pod on Instagram, at Techish Pod on Threads, on YouTube. Leave a review on all app platforms and on our YouTube. We'll catch you soon.
Bye everyone.